Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're plugging into a topic that, well, affects pretty much all of us: charging our phones in public. It turns out that simple, innocent act might be leaking your secrets right through the power cord itself.
Oh, you know that feeling, right? Your phone hits 3%, that icon just glows red, and you're frantically looking around for an outlet before you get completely cut off from the world. It is a very, very modern kind of anxiety. And then you see it. It's like a beacon of hope. A public USB charging station at the airport, maybe a little power bank at a coffee shop. You plug in, you see that little lightning bolt pop up, and you can finally breathe a sigh of relief.
Okay, so let's dive into this, because that feeling of relief, it might be a little premature. Now, for years, we've been warned about something called juice jacking, where malware gets snuck onto your phone through the data lines of a USB cable. But what if the real danger isn't in the data lines at all?
Most of us have gotten pretty smart about this. Our phones pop up that little message, charge only or transfer files, and we all dutifully tap charge only, feeling like we've totally secured the connection. But the threat we're talking about today, it doesn't even bother knocking on that door.
That's right, a really groundbreaking paper from the 2021 USNX Security Symposium uncovered a completely new kind of attack, and this one works through the power lines themselves, no data connection needed whatsoever.
The researchers call it charger surfing, and the core idea is pretty wild. The power your phone is drawing while it's charging, it's not just a steady, constant stream. It actually fluctuates in these tiny but totally predictable ways based on what you're doing on your screen. So an attacker can literally surf those power signals to see what you're tapping.
And look, this isn't just some theory. It's a genuinely serious threat precisely because it bypasses the one protection we all thought we had, just selecting charge only.
So, the big question is, how? How on earth does this brilliant, but honestly kind of unsettling attack actually work? How can a simple power cable effectively listen in on your screen taps?
Well, the secret is all in the animations. Think about it. When you tap a button on your keypad, your phone gives you a little visual feedback, right? The button lights up, or you see a little ripple effect. That animation causes a super brief, super tiny, but measurable spike in how much power the phone is using. And each spike is like a unique fingerprint.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because this is what makes those fingerprints unique. LCD and OLED screens, the two main technologies in our phones, they work in completely opposite ways. To show a black pixel, an LCD has to use a lot of power to block its backlight. But an OLED screen, it uses almost no power because the pixel is just off. This difference is absolutely critical to the attack.
And this is the final piece of the puzzle. Because screens refresh from top to bottom and left to right, an animation in the top left corner, like say tapping the number 1, creates a totally different power spike pattern than an animation in the bottom right corner, like tapping 9. The charger can tell exactly where on the screen you tapped.
So, if an attacker can tell the difference between a 1 and a 9, what's the most valuable thing they could possibly steal with that information? Yep, your passcode. Here's the playbook. A malicious charger first captures that raw power signal. Then, its software identifies the little burst of activity when you start typing your code. It isolates the signal for each individual button press, and it can even figure out your phone model to use the right profile. After cleaning all that up, it feeds the signal into a classifier to figure out the exact numbers you pressed.
And that classifier is essentially a brain, specifically a one-dimensional convolutional neural network. It's been trained on thousands and thousands of examples to become an absolute expert at matching these incredibly faint power fingerprints to the specific numbers on a keypad.
So you're probably wondering, how accurate is this thing? Well, for identifying just a single individual button press, the system achieved a staggering 98.7% average accuracy. And that's across all the different phones they tested, both Android and iOS.
Okay, fine. That's one button. What about a full passcode? For a standard 4-digit PIN, the researchers were able to guess it correctly on the very first try 95.1% of the time. Just wow.
And what about a more secure 6-digit passcode? It's still an incredible 92.8% success rate on the first attempt. I mean, that is thousands of times more effective than just trying to brute force guess the password.
And here's what makes this so dangerous and so scalable. The attack is victim independent. An attacker doesn't need to have ever seen your specific phone to train their model. They can just use their own devices and the attack will still work on yours.
Now, I know this all sounds like something straight out of a spy movie, right? But what is the actual real-world risk here, and more importantly, what can we do to protect ourselves?
Well, for starters, the hardware you'd need to build one of these malicious surfing chargers, it costs less than 20 bucks. It is cheap, it's portable, and it could be so easily hidden inside a public charging kiosk or one of those shareable power banks. This is not science fiction. It's a very practical and affordable attack.
And don't think you're safe just because you changed your wallpaper or dimmed your screen. The researchers, they tested all of that, and the attack was still highly effective, which proves it's really robust against all those little customizations we make to our phones.
Thankfully, it's not all bad news. There are defenses. Phone manufacturers could randomize the keypad layout every single time, but let's be honest, that would be super annoying for all of us. They could also just get rid of the button press animations, but that makes the phone feel less responsive. Really, the best solution is a hardware fix.
Yeah, the best fix is right in the hardware. A simple little component called a low-pass filter can smooth out those high-frequency power spikes that the attack needs to work. When the researchers tested this, the attack accuracy just plummeted to 10%, which is basically just random guessing. So, until that becomes standard, probably the best advice is to just avoid typing in your passwords or PINs while your phone is plugged into a public charger.
So the next time you feel that low battery panic and you spot that public USB port, you'll have to ask yourself a whole new question. Is the charge really worth the risk? It is a fascinating and maybe a little sobering look at how even our most normal, everyday habits can have some pretty serious hidden security consequences.